We're going to pivot a bit. Excuse me. We've been focusing a lot on networking security, and now we're going to move into the Security Operations Center, or the SOC, and that's what Phantom is really focused on. Now, inside of the SOC, there are a few problems that are starting to brew. First, there's a massive shortage of security professionals in the security industry itself. Today, there's estimates claiming a shortage of about 1 million professionals. By 2020, that'll be 2 million professionals that we're short. And the frequency of events that are arriving in our security operations centers are only increasing. We know that adversaries are using automation against organizations, and the number of events are just climbing. Second, the number of products. So there was just a mention of the number of products in these security environments, somewhere along the lines between 30 to 50, sometimes more. All different products, all different controls that are used to interact with those products, which make it complex for an analyst within a SOC to be context swapping between each of these products. In addition, because they all have static, independent controls, there's really no orchestration between them. Some solutions within the same vendor set will package some limited orchestration between them, but oftentimes organizations are using best-of-breed products which do not interact with one another. Now, when you take all of this, one of the things that were mentioned at the very beginning of the presentation are speed of response. I think there was a line in your presentation that had said that it could take weeks to contain an event. Sometimes it could take weeks to even validate an event. The problems that we talked about before, shortage of professionals, static independent controls across a wide variety of tools, make that speed of response a bigger problem within the SOC. And then that ultimately leads to higher costs. When you look at breaches, the longer a breach exists, or the longer it goes unidentified, not contained, not resolved, the more it's going to cost an organization. Now, we talked a lot about the problems of a SOC. Let's take a look at a SOC and what the tools look like and what the workflow looks like. We like using the military term, the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, and act, to describe the workflow within a SOC. Moving from left to right, you have your observing and sensing products, things such as firewalls, Gigamon taps, web application firewalls, malware analysis tools. Those tools will take information and then feed them into an analytics platform such as a SIEM or Splunk in this case. Now, the interaction between those tool sets are very much automated today. You saw several demos that automated the exchange of information between those tool sets. There have been decades of research and innovation going into those point products and the exchange of information between them. Now, once an alert has been identified, that alert is going to fall on an analyst's desk. This is where the decision-making process takes place within this OODA loop. A Tier 1 analyst is going to look at that alert and determine if further action needs to be taken on it. The problem is, for a large enterprise, we're talking about thousands of these alerts in a day, and you only have a team of 10 to 20 analysts that are able to service them. There's a massive gap between what needs to be serviced and what an enterprise has a capacity to service. That is what Phantom is focused on automating. That entire decision-making and acting process within a SOC to increase the speed of response and allow the SOC to keep up with the demand of alerts that are arriving on these analysts' desks on a daily basis. Now, how the platform works. We're going to take it from left to right. Phantom first ingests high-fidelity security data from a data source. In the demo that you'll see today, we're ingesting from Splunk. In a lot of our customer environments, we're ingesting from Splunk. We can ingest structured as well as unstructured data, really from any data source. When you ingest that security data, it comes in the form of an alert or perhaps an email or threat intelligence. What happens is a playbook will run, or many playbooks will run automatically against that alert. Playbooks are the digital codification of the human response plan. Jumping back to this OODA loop, you see Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 analysts operating on an alert, executing manual actions. What we want to do are take those manual actions and wrap them up into a playbook so that they run automatically every time an alert is ingested. Now, those playbooks are effectively a collection of actions that are being executed. In the demo that Steve will show you, you'll see the actions that are exposed through the Gigamon app. But we can integrate with over 140 products leveraging 650 different APIs that do things such as blocking IPs, disabling users, detonating files in a sandboxing environment, looking at IP reputation lookups. Really, we can integrate with any security tool that has an API available to it and expose it as an action that then is leveraged within a playbook. Now, all of this is made possible through an abstraction layer that we call an app. The Phantom platform is an open, extensible platform that allows you to plug in these apps. They're also can be referred to as connectors that will interface with all of the point products that exist within a SOC. I mentioned before, we have about 140 of these today. They're constantly growing. We have partners such as Gigamon who write these apps and contribute them to our community. We have customers write apps. We have our own engineering team that constructs apps as well. But what these apps do are they effectively take the action that's being prescribed by the playbook, they take the action, and then they take the parameters associated with that action and repackage the information that make it fit for consumption by that vendor's API. So we'll take a firewall for an example. Firewalls have block IP rules. However, the API for block IP is going to vary from one vendor to another. Their syntax is going to be different. So what we've done is we've normalized that call at this app level. The playbook calls block IP and submits an IP address. The app, which is vendor specific, will take that information and repackage it fit for use by that vendor specific API. It will then execute the block IP call on behalf of the analyst through automation. We'll get a success failure code back and then report that back to the playbook or analyst. That same process is repeated for, again, 140 different apps, 650 different actions, and all can be done either by the analyst through our orchestration platform or by a playbook automatically that would run at machine speed. Now, the next column behind apps would be assets. Apps describe how you interface to a particular platform. The asset is the instantiation of an interface to that particular platform. So for example, I could have 50 Gigamon devices deployed in an environment. I'm using one Gigamon app to describe how I'm interacting with those devices, but I would have 50 assets, if you will, which are the instantiation of the interface to each of those devices. And then lastly, you can have owners assigned to these assets as well. What's great about assigning ownership to an asset would be for inserting things like human approvals before executing an action. Let's take something like a block IP, which could have pretty severe consequences if done irresponsibly. When submitting that block IP, you can have an owner made aware of the fact that that block IP call has been made and give that owner the opportunity to accept, reject, or delegate the decision to enforce that block IP. Now, a few use cases. Here's one from a customer of ours, Blackstone. And what they are doing here are basically taking an email alert, ingesting it into the Phantom platform, and you can see on the right-hand side all of the individual steps that they're executing as part of investigating that alert. They're doing things like querying the recipients of the email in something like Splunk. They're looking at user profiles, hunting for file information, doing file reputation lookups. These are all steps that an analyst would have been taking in a manual fashion. Imagine an analyst doing all of this work. It would take them anywhere between 30 to 45 minutes to process one of these. You can take this, wrap it up in an automated playbook on the Phantom platform, and execute it in 30 to 45 seconds. Now, imagine that workflow and the time that it takes to process it from a human analyst perspective and multiply it by hundreds or thousands, right? It's a significant amount of time that requires a significant amount of human resource that just does not exist in SOCs today. So that's where automation comes in. You could take a workflow like this, craft it in a visual editor that we provide, and allow it to run automatically every single time an event's been ingested. Here's another example from another customer, Rackspace. In this case, what they're doing is they're linking the Phantom platform up to a phishing email inbox. So it's not uncommon to have your end users in your environment be forwarding things like emails to a phishing inbox. You can have Phantom listen on that inbox, ingest from it, automatically run an investigative and containment workflow automatically. So again, think about something like this occurring at 1 or 2 a.m. where you may have not many resources really paying attention to what's coming across the wire. Phantom will run that automatically, launch the investigation, perhaps take containment action, and what the analyst is left with is a view of all of the work that's already been done for them, not just an alert that says, here's all of the work you need to go do. So it's very, very useful in speed of response and also scaling up your response operations. So that is a very quick overview of the Phantom platform and the problems that we're solving. I'm going to hand it over to Steve or someone on the, there he is, to move forward with demonstration. A few things on Phantom. We do have a community edition of our platform that allows customers to leverage the product for free. We have a Phantom community that's constantly growing, where users are contributing app integrations, automated playbooks and workflows, collaborating with one another on these workflows, and they do this on community Slack channel as well as our community website. So for more information, if you're interested, check out any of those links, and I'm going to hand it to Steve for the demo.
I'm Steve Tarantino. I'm an InfoSec engineer. There we go. Particularly, I focus on developing our own internal tools. We're big on POC in our SOC, and there's 3 of us. So if we can find a tool that works great to ingest tons and tons of data, and I don't have to go stay up all night manually adding things to our Gigamon infrastructure or any of our tools, I am super happy about that. Our Gigamon application for Phantom, we had 2 use cases when we started development of this. Our primary goal was adding a rule to a map that would pass a subset of traffic that we deemed suspicious to one of our security tools. In the demo, our security tool is a server running TCP dump as a stand-in for an actual packet capture database. We also intended to block traffic inline. I do not believe our app currently does that completely yet. We have a team working on it. The Gigamon application for Phantom Cyber specifically focuses on the post rule action. We do have 4 actions that are active and in use. Post rule is the bread and butter of everything we do in the SOC. If we want to drop, if we want to pass to a tool, if we want to let the traffic just pass right on through, all of that is done through our post rule, through the Gigamon API on the Gigamon GigaView FM manager. This is the sample playbook that I've been personally working out of. We start with intelligence that is ingested into Phantom, in our case, through our Bro IDS. We geolocate based on locations we deem to be suspicious. Our demo particularly focuses on Canada. 1, because we found it hilarious. 2, because, well, Canadians, we feel, are less likely to retaliate, especially when the domain we're looking at has a robots.txt file that allows you to test against them. The geolocation results go to a decision tree at the point where it is deemed, yes, this is a suspicious location. The Gigamon action post rule will, through the Gigamon API, connect to the GigaView FM instance and post a rule to our H-series node, in our case, an HC2. This is a demonstration setup of our lab. We don't intend this to be real-world usable. There are multiple components here that could be swapped out at any given time because Phantom connects so readily with many, many different products. In our case, we are tapping all of our engineering traffic through headquarters. And we're specifically interested to see whether browsers are going off to suspicious domains in the internet. We send that traffic through our Bro IDS for evaluation. And if it does flag something as suspicious, we use Splunk currently as our middleware to process the Bro metadata. There's currently no Bro direct to Phantom setup that that we have, we're sort of in the process of writing that. From Phantom, our playbook will communicate up through our API with the GigaView FM, back to our HC2 node, and any subsequent browsing to this suspicious location will be sent directly to our tool for further investigation. With that, I'll actually switch over to our demo. All right, so to mimic a user browsing a suspicious location, I will curl to our what we deem a suspicious location, in this case, the city of Toronto. So this curl, as it's sent over to Bro, is analyzed by Bro, and our intel.txt reference in Bro that flags on suspicious locations will send details through Splunk to be pre-processed for Phantom, and then into Phantom, where we end up with one of our intelligences. In this intelligence, you can see the actual playbook steps being run. Here is our Gigamon post rule. It definitely passed. It added a pass rule. It worked with a 201. And here is our geolocation through a MaxMind account that we have in the SOC. It's definitely in Canada. Here's our H-series instance. We can see now that a rule has been posted specifically for the IP of that suspicious domain. And if we further browse to it again, what we see over here in our TCP dump as our stand-in is we're actually getting the real traffic now being passed into our tool for either current analysis or concurrent analysis, or for future analysis if this is at some odd hour in the morning when the 3 SOC personnel that we have are asleep. That's the entirety of this demo. Are there any questions about this? Yes?
That looked too easy.
It's actually, this entire process, I personally got to write the initial instantiation of this entire application. It took about a week to write. It took about 2 days to get this working seamlessly. We did find out that we were overloading our Bro instance, so that was a challenge. We fixed that bug yesterday at about 2:45. So it seems very easy. Occasionally you do run into complex issues, but for the most part, if you know your own network very well, in my case, I also happen to be I have fun tinkering with our network. It was fairly quick to set up, and really, you could set this up with any other application that would talk to Phantom. We're actually, right now it's just Bro. As we add more tools, I'm sure this will get less simple, but it'll be a fun challenge to solve.
So are the apps for Phantom licensed, and can you use them on the community edition of Phantom?
So we're actually, in the SOC, we're running the community edition. Okay. I make use of the Slack channel quite frequently for bugs that I find. At this moment, I don't believe it's licensed, or at least our app is licensed. I'm not sure.
So it'll be available in Phantom's community on a jungle license. You obviously need Phantom keyboard.
Right.
Then on the Phantom Community Edition, all of the apps that are contributed by partners, customers, or created by Phantom are available for all of the community to use, and they ship with the platform itself. So there's no charge or anything like that. You still need to provision the product from the vendor, but in order to talk to it from our platform, it's available for anybody to use.
Cool.